Pokemon!
This is Raghav, and I want to talk about Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Detective Pikachu is the first live-action film based on the Pokemon franchise. The franchise was created by Satoshi Tajiri in 1995 and is centered on fictional creatures called Pokemon, which humans, known as Pokemon trainers, catch and train to battle each other for sport. A fan of the arcade games, the Japanese video game designer wrote for and edited his own video gaming fanzine, Game Freak, with Ken Sugimori, before evolving it into a development company of the same name. Tajiri claims that the joining of two Game Boys via a link cable inspired him to create a game which embodied the collection and companionship of his childhood hobby, insect collecting. The game, which became Pokemon Red and Pokemon Green, took 6 years to complete and went on to spark a multi-billion-dollar franchise which reinvigorated Nintendo's handheld gaming. I personally love the Pokemon game. I played them all the time on my Game Boy emulator on the PC. But why did I use an emulator, you ask? Not all of us could afford to buy a Game Boy when we were kids, and even when we gathered enough money to buy it, we didn't have enough money to buy the Pokemon game, so we were stuck playing the crappy games the console came with. Hope you enjoyed playing the Incredibles Game Boy game for the rest of your childhood, Raghav, because that was all your money, and you'll be a grown man by the time you can make that much money again. Sorry. Anyway, the Pokemon franchise now extends over multiple avenues of entertainment media with an anime series, animated movies, multiple video games, and a super popular collectible card game, and the world's top-selling toy brand. The Pokemon anime has over 20 seasons and 1,000 episodes to its name. Needless to say, a live-action film was the next logical step. Pokemon Detective Pikachu is the story of 21-year-old Tim Goodman, who joins forces with a talking Pikachu who only he can understand to find Tim's missing father. First of all, I can't believe that the main character's name is literally Goodman. It can't get more on the nose than that. I'd love it if his rival had been named something like John Badman or something. Or Gary. Just Gary. It's always Gary. The idea of talking Pokemon originated from an early concept for the 1990s anime series, but was scrapped when Game Freak was unsatisfied with the concept, before the idea was revived for the 2016 Detective Pikachu spin-off game. Nicole Perlman and Alex Hirsch were hired to write the screenplay. Nicole Perlman is an American screenwriter most famous for co-writing the Guardians of the Galaxy, while Alex Hirsch is the creator of the critically acclaimed Disney animated series Gravity Falls. Later revisions of the script were provided by Eric Pearson, Thomas McCarthy, Derek Connolly, Dan Hernandez, Benji Samit, and Rob Letterman. Alex Hirsch later stepped away from the film and was not credited with story or screenplay. Writer Rob Letterman was then hired to direct the film. Rob Letterman initially directed animated films before moving into live action. His films include Monsters vs. Aliens, Shark Tale, and Goosebumps. The reason I'm listing all of the people who had a hand in writing the screenplay is because the number of writers on this movie is too damn high. The film suffers from a classic case of too many cooks spoiling the broth. There are just too many ideas stuffed into the movie, and they either don't pay off or they're paid off in a staggeringly unsatisfying way. Ryan Reynolds plays the titular Detective Pikachu, and he's supposed to be the comedic heart of the film, full of quips and one-liners that should leave us in splits. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. The jokes are half-assed and lazy. Pikachu's character is random, illogical, has no consistency, and his character doesn't really play well with the main human lead. Tim Goodman is played by Justice Smith, who is known for his work on Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and as the lead in The Get Down on Netflix. I thought he was fine in The Get Down, but in this movie he's severely lacking. He has no charm, no personality, and he barely does anything in the plot. Stuff just kinda happens to him and he spends the whole time being annoyed at Pikachu. Kathryn Newton was cast as his co-star apparently after intense testing. Clearly it wasn't intense enough because the two of them have absolutely no chemistry, and Kathryn's performance is caricaturish at best. Not to mention that her character has no depth or layers. She's a one-note person just placed there so that Justice Smith doesn't have to spend the whole movie talking to a cartoon rat. The dialogue is sad and clunky. The story is presented as a detective tale and they just walk around from one place to another, they ask one question, they get an answer, they move to the next spot, rinse and repeat. They do this repeatedly until they get to the midpoint of the film, at which point they get an exposition scene where everything is explained to us. While they're investigating, they talk like a bunch of idiots and they say obvious stuff that's just, I don't know, bad. At one point they're in a lab and they see a sign that says Pokemon evolution test or something like that, and Kathryn Newton's character says, It's like they're trying to manipulate Pokemon evolution. Great, thanks for reading the sign. The movie is heavy with CGI, and in general the designs and execution of the Pokemon are pretty good. They look close enough to the original designs from the game and anime that we're familiar with. They have sufficient updates to root them in the real world. However, the interaction of live action characters with the CG Pokemon is not polished. There are many scenes where the eye lines don't match up, or the animation of the Pokemon does not react believably to the human hands. I went into this movie not knowing what to expect. I was hoping for something cute, fun, somewhat campy. It's definitely cute, but it's definitely not fun. I don't know, maybe I've just become jaded and hate fun. Maybe I'm not the target audience for this movie, but I wasn't gripped by this movie in any way, while there was a woman, a grown woman, sitting next to me bawling her eyes out at Detective Pikachu. So, yeah. If you love Pokemon, this movie does nothing to capitalize on that. There are only a couple of Pokemon that get the spotlight, and none of them really get a good moment to shine. Even Pikachu is nothing more than a babbling idiot. He barely does anything that's exciting, and there's almost no cool action, which is what you'd like to see if you were a fan of the games, manga, anime, or any other previous iteration of the franchise. And if you know nothing about Pokemon, then this film does nothing to ease you into this world. It explains nothing about the rules and the nature of the new world you're walking into. All you get is two protagonists who don't gel well together and a female sidekick who sets women protagonists back at least 10 years. Also, not to mention, it is painfully obvious who the culprit of the mystery is going to be, and it's just kind of depressing to sit through it. The only scene in the film that's any fun at all is the scene where Tim and Pikachu have caught a Mr. Mime and they're questioning him, and all that dude does is mock them endlessly. It's super funny, and it makes you hopeful for the film taking a light and fun tone with promises of good physical and verbal comedy. But no, this is as far as the film goes. The whole thing is such a slog. I'm sorry, but I can't in good conscience recommend this film to anyone. Your kids don't need to see this. Just show them the anime and they'll be happy. I hope the next attempt at a Pokemon movie is a more return to basics approach. I kinda just want there to be a Pokemon movie franchise so they can use the tagline "Gotta watch 'em all." Anyway, thanks for watching my review. Consider subscribing to my channel. Am I wrong? Is this movie secretly good and I have just totally missed the mark with my assessment? Let me know in the comments. If there's anything you disagree with or agree with, let me know. If you see something, say something.